Here's the first position.
Okay, perfect.
All right.
Great.
So at like in 8 minutes sharp, we're going to be going live?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And is there a way to know how many people are watching?
Well, at least 30 to 40 people should join us. So,
Okay.
but the presentation will be recorded, so it will be available on YouTube for everyone.
Wonderful. Thank you. Hey.
So,
So that background was a photograph I took in, I forgot where, but somewhere in the Southwest. It's an interesting looking cloud.
I'm.
Oh, if I move,
I can see it.
Wait, you can see it. Maybe. Oh, this is a little better light on my face. I don't know.
You look great.
What's that now?
You look great.
I look great. You're the first person to tell me that today, and I only woke up 5 minutes ago.
No, you look just fine.
Then it's probably going to be a very good day.
Yeah. Peter Hallberg is in the audience. Hi, Peter.
Hey, Steve.
What's a?
Yeah. So we didn't do it again this year. You did it 2004. I'm still waiting. All right.
There's still 4 minutes.
Recording in progress.
It's dinner time here in Denmark, so I better turn off my camera.
So Marianne, I might want to ask the audience their opinion on certain positions. So could they just unmute when they have something to say? Is that okay?
Yes, of course. They could either raise their hands or just send something in the chat box, but they can just, so that not everyone speaks at the same time, so they can just raise their hands.
Okay, that'd be great. Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, I just felt bad, because, for example,
Okay, Steve, you can go ahead and start in a minute if you would like.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right, I want to ask everyone please to mute themselves. If anyone has a question while Steve is speaking, please just write it in the chat box, okay? I guess you all know Steve. He's a backgammon grandmaster, and he will be giving the session today about the 10 positions from the last World Championship in Monaco.
Okay, here we go. Thank you, Marianne, for inviting me to do this presentation today. And
It's a pleasure having you.
It's my pleasure. So this is welcome to this week's edition of Backgammon Sunday, with twice the knowledge but only half the calories. And this is going to be titled "The Man Who Didn't Quite Break the Bank at Monte-Carlo." And there's a song written in 1892, which will tell you how far back my music tastes go, written by Fred Gilbert, called "The Man Who Broke the Bank at Monte-Carlo," which was made famous in the 1962 movie Lawrence of Arabia, where Peter O'Toole sang the song while coming out of the desert. And so we're going to take a look at 10 positions today. This first one from the first round against Andreas Groch, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, friendly German player. And so he doubled me. I was leading 4-0 to 17, and he doubled me here. I thought about it quite a while. I was just wondering, wow, he's got a 5-point board, and I've got a blot out in the outfield, and a lot of his numbers work for him. 3s and 4s jump out, 6s escape, and he could lift with an ace or a deuce. So it seems like most of the numbers work for him except for 5s. So I was concerned about, he did double this position. I was concerned about taking. So does anybody have an opinion on whether they think this is a take or not? Let's, I guess, see a show of hands. Peter likes the take. Peter Halberg, 2004 world champion. Okay, so let's just continue here. And I did actually eventually take. So now we'll go to the answer. The answer is, it is slightly a no double. So it's an excellent double by Andreas. And so my reason for taking is that he has quite a few bad numbers. 5s are especially bad. Double 5s is horrible. 5-1 is awful, which he actually rolled 5-1 in the match. 5-2 is pretty crummy. But even if he pops out, with like 6-5, 6-4, 6-3, 5-4, he's leaving a direct shot. So I'm instantly like winning the game, or very close to it. If he does, have to leave that open blot and I pick it up. So yeah, like I said, in the actual game, he rolled 5-1, and I didn't redouble. I don't think it was redouble, as I recall. But I thought this was kind of a tough problem. I mean, actually, in terms of equity, it was a pretty easy one. But, it's the first time I was in Monte-Carlo in 4 years, and I've only played 4 times. And I wanted to do the right thing. So I did take the extra time. And that's another small lesson in block management. Just, make sure you take your time, because I think I've seen most people, with the exception of Michael Niagu, I call him 007 because he's constantly left with 7 seconds left in the clock, but I can never get him to timeout. So he's fantastic. And a lot of other players, Mochi as well, they'll use their time. They'll get down to under a minute, but they manage it. So I see a lot of people left with a lot of time on their clock at the end of the match. And it's kind of a mistake. Even if it's an apparently simple position like this one, you want to make sure you get it right. So use your time to a point, but mostly. Okay, so then I was wondering, and this is what I do in examination of positions, is what would have to change for this position to become a drop? So one of the first things that I came up with was like a corollary position where instead of the spare checker being on the 2 point, it was on the 4 point. I mean, naturally, if it was a closed board, almost assuredly it'd be a drop. But if you just take the checker from the 2 to the 4, I wonder how much of a difference it would make. So let's take a look at that corollary position that I set up here. Recent games. Back on Sunday 1A, and surprise, 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 it's a huge pass. So I don't know how many of you would have had the inclination to determine that this was like a huge pass, as opposed to barely or not even being a double. But that just shows you seemingly small changes in position can have dramatic differences. In this case, well, if he rolled the same bad 5-1, at least he could maintain a 5-point board, whereas in the original position, he had to bust down to a 4-point board. So anyway, I thought this was an interesting position, and I thought maybe this was my year, because as well as Andreas played, and he did play well, I won 17-0. And that's just incredible. And how do you win 17-0? A match, it's just, anyway, so that's what happens. So I go on to the second round, and I played Vincent Denardi, French fellow, and we came up to the second problem here. So, okay, so wow. So, yeah, my dice were really hot, continuing. From 17-0 in the first round to 10-1 lead the second round. It's I thought wow, I really know this game. But, as we all well know, then that game is a tricky game, and once you think you know everything, then you don't know anything. In any case, so I was leading 10-1 in this position, and I really liked the position. I mean, position, race, and threats, I got it all. I was up 33 in the race. That's pretty darn good. He had 1 checker on the bar, as well as 3 more checkers back, and I was shooting at him with deuces, 3s, 4s, 7s, 8s, 9s, and 10s. That's a lot. I think almost everything works. I might be able to find a weak number, but I'm not going to try right now. So I doubled here. So show of hands. Does anybody think this is a double? And let's take a quick poll here. Scroll down on the, okay. All right, so in any case, I did double here. And as it turns out, this is interesting. I didn't know this at the time, certainly. Okay, it's a pretty sizable no double. So the one good thing about this is when you're running that hot, depending on the level of sophistication of your opponent, they may just be feel like run over and just giving up, And well, Vincent did not, certainly, so he played well. But you can double a position that's a no double if it's Woolsey's law. Welcome, Kit. I learned from you. In any case, yeah, I guess that's if you're not sure if it's a take, you should double. But that's a for sure. But in any case, in this situation, I thought it was a double legitimately. And I don't tend to play that many really long matches, like 17. I usually play 11s, 7s, 9s, that kind of thing. But so as it turns out, this is a sizable no double here. So then in further study, after the match is over, and after I ever put it in transcribed, I think, okay, so when would it be a double? So if it's not a double at 10-1, is it a double at an even score? Well, let's see. Let's Control-Shift-C, Control-V. Let's make it for money just to make it simple. And yeah, it's a pass. So I didn't make the proper translation from, money play or an even match score to where I was leading 10-1 and gave a pretty bad double, which Vincent took. So then the question becomes, well, at what point would become a double? If it's not a double with a 10-1 lead, how about 9-1? How about 8-1? How about 7-1? And continuing on. So, I fiddled around with it. And as it turns out, the crossover point, that's what I like to call the point at which it doesn't really matter either way, presuming perfect play from your opponent. What would be double? It turns out with I can save this one. With a 7-1 lead, it's right on the edge. So I'm not sure how much you can learn from this exact position other than, when you get that pretty big a disparity in scores, it can turn what is normally a pass into not even a double. So that's something, you'll have to do with study on your own time, deciding, when to double, and also, keeping in mind the tendencies that your opponent has regarding taking and passing. And when I have the time, I actually scout my opponents, especially Monte-Carlo. We had 2 p.m. matches and 10 p.m. matches. So 6 hours in between. And usually the match would take like 2 or 3 hours. So you have like 3 hours to scout your next opponent. And so I go to Backgammon Studio and they have matches there with, all the way back from the 70s. It's a great site. And, matches from way, way back. And you can see if your opponent has some matches. I mean, players like Kit and myself have dozens or hundreds of matches. And some of the other players, I played a money round match in Florida recently, and the player that I played against, I tried to look him up, and he didn't have any matches there. So I guess he didn't play that many tournaments. All right, so this is like the break-even point. So yeah, money pass, not even a double at 10-1, but a 7-1 lead, that's the borderline point. So, and this is something that you can do on your own. Okay, let's get to the next position here. Problem number 3.
I think Kit has a question.
I'm happy to hear it, yes.
Say something.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I think that the reason, what you want to look at this sort of position is the reason why it is not a double. And the answer is as follows. It's really not a volatile position at all. In other words, you're going to hit something. He's going to probably come in with a checker. In other words, nothing is going to happen much on the next roll. Thus, assuming he has a clear take now, that you have to judge, but at this score, I believe he does have a clear take. But if he has a clear take, you're not going to lose your market, whatever happens. And if you're not going to lose your market, there's no point in doubling. It's just not a volatile position. Nothing's going to happen on the next exchange. And that's right. That's the whole key to the position.
Yeah, Kit's absolutely right. And that's something I negated to mention in describing the position is the fact that he's got the 20 point means that you talk about Wachtel's book Into the Game Till the End. Well, it's the 24 point. He's got the 20 point. He's in the game until the end because, I mean, yeah, I can hit him, but he's probably going to make some kind of second anchor in the board. He has his 5 point made. So he's in great, obviously I'm a favorite here, but he's in great position to fight back, either making a back game or I roll something maybe 5-1 and he rolls double deuces. In any case, but yeah, for sure, I picked the wrong time to double, but so we're talking about if some good plays and cube decisions that I made today, but also some mistakes that I made, and and I help my students. I have some backgammon students, and they say, well, I don't want to look at these positions. It's like these blunders. They're really bad. I'm embarrassed. I said, look, the bigger a mistake you make, the greater an opportunity is to learn. So and then they feel better about it. And I'll show them mistakes that I make, and they'll think, oh, you're a great player and all this, but I make mistakes. The backgammon is a difficult game. So anyway, let's move on to the next position here. Number 3. Okay, so oops, I thought I had this one set up as the problem without the answer. It doesn't matter. Here, I'll just hide. Pretend you didn't see this. Okay, so I have a 6-4 to play here, and there's a lot of different ways to play it. I mean, you can run off the anchor, you can make the second, the forward anchor, you can slot inside your board, you can just bring 2 down. So you have a lot of different choices here on how to play it. And does anybody have an idea what they think is the best play? Like, who would vote for making the forward anchor? 24, 20, 13, 7. Okay, Mark says yes. Okay, he went with my play. Jacques says yes. In any case, so I made that play, but there's a lot of other really good plays here. I mean, you're not going to make the deuce point, but you could bring 2 down. You can slot the 4 point. You could just run out with the checker and bring a checker down. So a lot of different ideas. But as it turns out, I made the 20 point. Let's take a look at the answer here, which is 3. Okay, so my play was pretty bad, as it turns out. Sorry, Mark, but we're not perfect. Okay, so here's the play that I made. And I thought because he stripped on all the outside points that he may have some difficulty bringing the checkers in. And so, like, if he leaves a shot, a couple, 2, 3 rolls down the road, he might do the single shot, double shot. But I think the problem with my play was that I'm just not ready to contain yet. I only have a 2-point board. I have the makings of possible 4 prime, but I'm far from that. But I think maybe even the bigger thing is just, letting your opponent play past you. I mean, there aren't that many like really bad rolls. So let's just say that I did this. Oh, that's okay. No, well, there is a checker straggler there trying to police the white's lower board, but because black only has a 2-point board, white can attack pretty freely. If they roll an inconvenient number like 6-5 or something, even a great roll like 5-3 that like force them forward. And so as white is disassembling their prime, they may either elect to leave a shot if it's correct, which probably wouldn't be the case, or they may be forced to with a series of inconvenient rolls. And maybe I've made the 4-point by then and maybe a 4 prime, but that's still not necessarily enough to completely contain. So I just had the wrong idea there. The right idea is just, simple, just play, just slot it inside, and you don't mind if you get pointed on there because, I guess it improves your timing to a certain extent. Yeah, they're stripped on that point. But if they, let's say they roll a 4-3 and point on you, and, you're not super interested in like hitting them back right away. So white doesn't even need to be worried about too much about leaving the fly shots because either black should not want to hit or they won't elect to hit. And this ace-3 back game against an outside prime, it's not ideal. It's pretty good. I think the deuce-3 back game is the best against the outside prime, but ace-3 is pretty good. So I guess the main feature of this position is that we're just not ready to contain yet, number one. And number two, we don't want to like open up the lower territory for attack by our opponents so that, we're forcing ourselves into a 3-5 game, which is not as good, and timing's not an issue. So that's the lesson from that one. And anyway, so I did win this match. Vincent made an amazing comeback. He was down. I apologize. This is from David Howell. And yeah, actually, so yeah, the second position was from Vincent Denardi. This third position, let me give him credit. David Howell, player from the United States, and he took me to DMP, and he won the match. And as a reward for David winning the match and beating me in the third round, he got to play Wilcox Snellings in the fourth round. So, back to back, what a couple of matches for David. And he also took Wilcox to DMP. He didn't win that match, but, credit to David for putting up a good fight on the biggest stage. Okay, now let's take a look at...
I think Peter has a question.
Oh, please, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. I was thinking I would have moved to 14 and to 4 because I believe that if we just jump to 14, we'll have more checkers and actually have more real timing than if we get hit and be sent back, because we can still be behind prime, and then we only have 4 checkers to move around the board. So I feel like that, to me, it makes much more sense than just 2 down or
very
1 down, 1 in.
Yeah. But I guess the reason it's not quite as good as just slotting, and because but in both plays we're playing 8 to 4. So in XG's number 1 play is bringing 1 down, and in your play you're coming out. But I guess the additional harassment value that the checker on the 20-point adds to your game makes it potentially a little bit better, because you have a little bit of upside, because this checker is guarding the checkers on the 10-point, white's 10-point. Whereas if you come out, then, for example, they could roll 5-1 and make a 6 prime. But I see, your play's considered a small mistake. It's not all that big a deal. But it's in any case, it was a way better idea than the one I had. So thank you, Peter. Okay, so let's go to the 4th one. Okay, so the problem for number 4. Okay, so I had a 4-3 to play here, and so this is in the. I lost, like I said, I lost to David, and I'm playing Antonio Scambuto, who is a fine player, and this was the first second chance match that I had. So I had a 4-3 to play. He's leading 3-0 to 11. I own the cube, and so I said, okay, so let me hit with a 3, hit with a 4. Stack it up. So who likes that play, or who would actually be adventurous and slot the 5-point or the 3-point? So who would slot either one of those points? Okay, so all right, let's take a look here at the answer. The answer is, okay, so it turns out it's actually right to slot the 3-point. Second best is to slot the 5-point. My play was third best, stacking it up. Okay, so let's take a look and see how these plays look here. Yeah, so first of all, my play. Well, I don't have, another thing I tell my students is it's a lot easier to make a point when you slot than when you just have builders to make the point. Way, 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 way easier. Then you got to ask yourself, well, how risky is it to slot? So in this case, black's got 2 checkers behind a 5 prime, and it's going to be. We have 2 on the bar here. Okay, so yeah, so it's it's very doable to be able to win this game, but in order to give yourself the best chance, you got to try and make the point. And so the benefits that can have from making the point or slotting the point. Let's take a look. So this would be the ideal play according to XG. Is that it diversifies your numbers. So your opponent's not a favorite to hit you. If they hit you, it's bad. It's really, really bad. But it's a highly volatile situation in that if you get a third checker sent back, you're in bad shape. But if you slot and they don't hit you, then I wouldn't say you necessarily have a recube. Well, you might. Actually, let's check that out. So,
Steve, this is Karen. You have a question in the chat from Daniel.
I can't see the chat. I apologize for that.
Slotting play is right.
What's the question?
Would the slotting play be right if white didn't have a blot in the board?
Well, let's check that out right now. Okay, first of all, I already have this set up here. I wanted to see if, what do I have? Something about this position I didn't set up right. I apologize about that. But anyway, so back to the original. Oh, great. Let's go back. 2, 3. Okay, the question, I've got to go to 4, sorry. Question was if we, okay, so now let's take, so let's take this checker and put it back on the 4 point. And so now, well, let me think about this a second. Okay, so do I think this would be better?
Kit has something to say.
What's that now?
Kit, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I think slotting is the best play regardless. But one of the reasons I believe why it's so much better under these particular circumstances is if you slot and he doesn't hit, you are going to have a super powerful redouble.
Yeah, let's take a look at that here. Okay.
Whereas if you play 13 to 6, 13 to 9, 9 to 6, and he doesn't do anything special, you're not going to have much of a threat at all.
Okay, especially trailing 3-0, it's a recube. Kit's right about that. So it's almost a pass. It's a redouble. Yeah, and the way I played it, so the less ambitious play of just no, it's not a redouble. Okay, so 4. Yeah, so yeah, the diversification numbers that you offer yourself by like making it, where's the, yeah, this is a big play here. Sorry, move. Yeah, by slotting here, now you give yourself good 6s to pop out, 3s and 5s to cover, and as Kit said, a very powerful redouble.
Steve,
Okay.
now
So
a good way, I think an important way to see whether I'm right or not, which I'm not sure, look at the same position, but give him the cue and see what the difference in the plays is.
Well, you know, the generalization is that once you've given up the cube, you want to play with more aggression. You've already doubled, so that probably would be
It's not a question of aggression. It's a question of I think one of the big advantages for slotting is the threat of the recube. So if that threat isn't there, let's see how close the plays are.
All right, let's take a look here.
Peter has something to say as well.
Yeah, it's quite a bit closer when you're
You see, now it's like a photo between the two plays.
That's interesting. Go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, I believe that definitely the cube has something to do with it. But the reason why I would definitely slot here is that if I play the stiff move by playing to the 6 point, I will probably hit or slot one of the points by force during the next couple of rows anyway, and it just as well do it now when I know it's good, and also I don't care about the block because I'm not too happy to hit it anyway. So I don't think that's important. So the recube, and also that I will be forced to slot either 5 or 4 3-point players.
These are all very good points, and I wish you guys were by my side to advise me, but that's not allowed. So, okay, let's go on to position 5 here. Okay, let's see what we got here. Okay, so that was against Antonio Scambuto. We had a very exciting match. It was 7-7 to 11, and I missed like 5 cubes in a row in a holding game. And then when I finally redoubled them, it wasn't a double. So that was interesting. Okay, so I got lucky against Antonio. And then in the next match, I played Thorsten Hoyer from Germany, position 5. We're going to take a look at the problem here. Oh, I got a 4-1. Okay, so there's only a couple of ways to play it here. You either make the 8 point or slot the 7. Well, I am ahead 9-2. Obviously, I'm not going to double. I'm going to play for the gammon here, or certainly not going to open up double and open up an opportunity for Thorsten to redouble me. So, but there's only really a couple of plays here. So there's a slotting play and there's the point play. So who wants to be ambitious to slot here? We're leading 9-2 to 11. Anybody like that? Jacques, we haven't heard from you. What do you like?
I played
Still there?
safe at the 8 point.
Okay, well, you're the pro and I was the amateur because I slotted. I'm going to look at the answer here. 5. Okay, 1380 is sizably better. It's like a mini blunder, 0.048. But my thought was, okay, so why not just, go for it? It's like I've got an anchor. I have a better board. He has a blot in his board. So it seems like such a natural play. And it was actually an interesting one because this is my style. I like to take chances, well, with the exception of that 4-3 from the previous move. But I like to take chances, when I'm in a good position. So, if I'm a favorite, I want to try and become more of a favorite. So it's a little bit of a mystery to me as to why this play is not quite as good, because it seems like all the elements for like taking the risk are there. And even if you get hit, it's not that big a deal. But this is super interesting. Let's plus it. I don't think it's to make that big a difference. But so Kit or Peter or anybody else have an idea as to why slotting is wrong?
Yeah, I actually did think the plays were close, but I liked 13-8, so it turned out I was on target. But I think the reason it's wrong is that you don't need the bar point to win. You just need to basically
you don't need it, but
bring
you
the
sure
position
like it.
home. Oh, of course you'd like it, but you don't need it. Whereas if you slot it and it gets hit, you suddenly lost a lot of your advantage. So that I think that's the reason. I thought the plays were close, frankly, so I wouldn't worry about getting it this wrong.
Yeah. No, I just thought like everything was there. I got a better board. I have an anchor. He's got a blot on his board. It's like everything is there to like take the risk, but it was wrong. So I think this is worthy of like further consideration, further study, to really sort of figure out like actually why it was wrong. Maybe at a different score, it might not be. Let's try something.
But actually, I agree with Kit here because you don't want the volatility. You already basically want the position. You have a superior position, and the volatility hugely favors white in that position. And especially, he can get lucky if he can hit you on the set point. So if you just don't let him, then he doesn't have any jokers. Just have a superior position in my mind. And you need 2 points, right? Or I read the 4 wrong.
Yeah, reverse the score.
You're behind 2-9. Oh, sorry. Did it change?
No, yeah, I was just fiddling with the score just to make it. Let's just say, yeah. All right. So I appreciate you guys' input on that one. So
I take my input back. I misread the score. I thought it was the other way around.
No, it was. I was in the original position. I was leading 9-2 to 11 with Cuban.
Okay. Then I stand by my comment.
Yeah, you're not seeing an apparition here. Okay, let's go to problem number 6 here. Thank you.
Oh, Steve, looking at the cube the other way doesn't make any sense because it wouldn't be that way. You would have doubled.
No, that's true.
So
it's
irrelevant. Irrelevant.
Okay, so now this next position here, this is against Simon Barget, who had a very, very interesting match. In 2017 or 18, I forgot which year, Chris Trencher and I played in the finals of the Malcolm Davis Texas Longhorn Classic. And there were no doubles that were taken in the first 12 games of the match. I forgot what the score was. Might have been tied or somebody was ahead by 1 or 2. But there were no. So you would figure there were a bunch of missed doubles. And there were. And but then I topped that. In this one, Simon and I played the first 16 games of an 11-point match. There was no doubles that were taken. We had 16 consecutive 1-point games, which seems quite amazing because you not only somebody didn't even win an undoubled gammon, or they never double when it was a take. So a lot of conservative cube action. And I told Simon at the time, after the match, I said, I think I missed a bunch of doubles. And I was right looking at the match. We both still played well, but yeah, I missed a bunch of cubes. So in any case, here's one of those situations where either he missed a cube or I dropped incorrectly. And so the score was 2-2 to 11. Simon's playing the white checkers. He's on roll. He doubled me. And so I had a decision to make. So anybody want to pipe in whether they would think it's a take or a pass? I mean, he has a equal board, but he's got a better prime. He has an anchor, which I don't have an anchor. He's got fully diversified numbers, 3s, 4s, and 5s to attack, 6s to jump out. Even a number like 3-2 can make the 8 points. So he's got a lot going for him. But I do have a 4 prime, although there aren't, many active builders lined up on top of the prime to stop his attempted escape if he does pop out with a 5 or a 6, especially a 6. So who likes to take here? Who likes to drop?
I would drop but close. Trivial double, just by Woolsey's rule, if nothing else.
Yep. Okay. And turns out this was a relatively close one here. It actually was pretty darn close. I didn't roll it out yet, but plus is 0.976, so no big deal. But in any case, it's a good reference position. So especially because it's a pretty simple one. The scores are equal, and it's right around the take pass point. So so this is one you can remember for the future. It's like, okay, 4 prime versus 4 prime, 2 back versus 2 back. I got one on the bar, which is obviously my disadvantage. He's got diversified attackers and escaping numbers. So I did drop it, it gets this drop, but trivial double. But in any case, so this is one of the 16 consecutive 1-point games that we had. It's a good solid reference position. I mean, you could change a few elements of this position here. Obviously, if I added an active builder to my 6 point, it's going to be from small take to a pretty obvious take. It's like you save 1/10 of a point. But if we let's say we take one of our active builders away, give ourselves 6 more pips, now it's going to turn it into a drop because we lose an attacker. So there's something about this position I don't understand. But since we're on a time budget, I got 4 more positions to go over. We'll save that for another day. Thank you for your patience. Okay, number 7 coming up also against Simon. Okay, so now instead of it being 2-2, it's a little later in the match, 4-3 a few games later. Okay, so here's a good one here. Simon's, playing the white checkers. He's on roll. He's got an advanced anchor. He's got deuces and 3s to make a 6 prime, 5s to jump out. Some numbers like 6 will attack, doesn't get out. So it seems like a pretty good position for him. So the double seems to be very reasonable. I am also ahead in the match. So anytime you get to less than 8 away, you can sort of treat it as money. But in this case, when he gives me the cube, if I do decide to take it, then I have less of a impactful redouble because the score, if I redouble and gammon him, then I only earn 7 of the 8 points. And so it's a little less efficient. So does anybody want to just, decide on whether this is take or a pass? Who thinks it's a take? You know what I always say, if it's not a take, it's a mistake. In any case, all right, I thought it was fun. Okay, so let's go to the answer here. Problem number 7. So it turns out that it is also another close reference position here. And should have taken the time to roll it out, but I didn't. But for the moment, it's like 0.96, good double. I actually decided to drop here. Of course, I already told you it's 16 1-point games to get to a 9-7 lead for me. But I just looked at the diversification of numbers. I am ahead in the race, which isn't bad. I mean, I can, if I don't get blocked in, but even if he blocks me in, if he rolls like a 4-2, then he might roll like a 6-4 in his next shake, and or 6-2, and then he has to bust his prime. So the scary part for me was having the blot on my deuce point. I mean, the scariest part was for him to cover with a 3 or 2. I did not like that idea of being blocked behind a 6 prime and then hoping to get lucky from there. but I also didn't like having a blot on a deuce point. If you put this checker back on the 5 point, let's do that for fun. See what that's like. Well, that's going to be this. I'm presuming I would have taken it, but see if it's even a double. So yeah, you go from. Oh, what did I do? Sorry, I took some. Let's take a look again. Okay, so yeah, so this is like comfortable double, but a very, very easy take. I'm pretty sure I would have taken this one. So like I said, the two elements of this position that really bothered me were getting 6 primed and also the blot I had on my deuce point. But, I guess you can, you can look at it from the perspective of like he still has work to do. Even if he makes a 6 prime, he's got to get out of your board. You have counter priming ability. You have all your pieces in play except for the blot of the deuce point. So but that was a close one, a good reference position. And so let's see, you got one more position from Simon match, number 8. Let's take a look at that. Okay. Oh, yeah, this is a good one here. Okay, 4-3. All right, so let's hear from somebody new. I want to hear how you would play 4-3 here. So you're leading 5-7-5, playing to 11, keeps in the middle. So you're 4 away, your opponent's 6 away. And in my article, can you hit? Backgammon as easy as 1, 2, 3. I advocate hitting, making points, and escaping. And if you could do more than one of those things in the same play, it's usually better. So wouldn't that be the case where you can hit 11, 7, 6, 3? Maybe. Or is there another play available? Let me call on somebody here. Karen, what do you think? How do you play 4-3 here?
You know me, I'm always aggressive, so checking the match score. But I would typically hit and make 6-3.
Okay, we should play doubles sometime because we think alike. Only problem is in this case, unfortunately, we're both wrong. I apologize for that. But let's take a look at the answer. And so the answer is it's actually sizably right to play from 18 to the 11 point. Okay, but in the article that I wrote, backgammon is as easy as 1, 2, 3, I say if you can't do something constructive, don't do something destructive. So you have a choice here of escaping one checker to the 11 point. So you've created one positive asset in escaping, but you haven't created any negative assets. Whereas if you play this move here, hitting and covering, yes, you've accomplished 2 positive assets. You've hit and you've made a new point, but you did something destructive in that you've broken a blocking point and left a couple of blots available, and probably a third of the numbers hit back. And the cube's in the middle, and he's trailing in the match. So, any, inclination to double would probably, he'd probably want to do it. So this is against Simon. Okay, so yeah, so that's the interesting point there, is that you have to weigh the positive and the negative, factors here. So in this play, the play that I made, Karen also agreed with, you're doing a couple of positive things, you're hitting and you're making a point, but yeah, you're leaving a little bit of negative liability. And even if they don't come in right away, you still have to reassemble your position while simultaneously trying to escape your back checker. So that's kind of a, like the guy spinning the plates on the stage and trying to keep them all spinning without falling down. Okay, so we have 3 more positions. Yes.
Yeah. One thing about this position, first of all, you're way ahead in the race.
I am.
So
that's accurate.
Hitting doesn't gain that much. In other words, your basic plan is just to bring them around and win. And 18 to 11 does quite a bit constructively. It gets one of your back checkers home safely to where it is a builder or a spare checker, which can play later on to handle your bad numbers. So the real issue is, what's your game plan here? And your game plan is bring them around and win.
Yep.
So that's really
good advice, kid.
If you weren't that far ahead in the race, then hitting and covering would be clear.
Very good feedback, Paul, from all participants, Kit and others included. So we're going to move on to time considerations, position number 9. And now I'm facing, I get lucky and beat Simon. So after 16 consecutive 1-point games, I was leading 9-7. Simon doubled me correctly. He was 4-away, I was 2-away. I took, finally made the right decision. And I got lucky and won the game. And that put me in the money. But, every match after that was critical. And so now I'm playing Johan Moazet from Sweden. And he and I played one time previously in 2018, first round actually. And I did win that match, but Johan outplayed me, played really well. They're like low threes. So he's a great player. So anyway, we got a rematch here, Rocky 2. Johan's going to try and knock me out. And he actually ended up doing that, knocking me out. But let's take a look at problem number 9 here. Okay, so, So Simon's, and I'm sorry, now we're at Johan. Johan is 5 away, I'm 7 away, and he doubles me. So I decide whether to take or pass. And I eventually dropped, like, chicken that I am. But so I didn't like the position because, he's way, way, way ahead of the race. The position, race, and threats. Well, the only liability that I could see for Johan is the blot on his ace point, but even that isn't all super terrible because he's blocked on 6s and 5s with his back checker. 6s and 5s could cover. He's got deuces to hit, 3s to move forward. Double 4s makes a 6 prime. So most of his numbers play reasonably well. Let's go to dice distribution and see. Like 6-5, 6-5 and 5-4. Those are kind of like the worst numbers. You can see there's a lot of pretty nice numbers here. So certainly a double. But I just didn't like it. I thought, I'm going to get gammoned a lot, So I ended up dropping. So let's go to number 9, answer number 9. This is the actual cube here. Maybe it rolled out a little bit higher, but but this is like a solid take here. And part of the reason is like obvious, as Kit would probably say, well, you're trailing in the match. Look how powerful a recube you might have if things don't go perfectly for him, So, and I can sort of semi-kill his gammons because he's leading 5 away. If I redouble him and he ends up winning a gammon, he only gets 1 point value for his gammon. So I can give pretty, exciting redoubles that, when I'm kind of on the ropes, that maybe I get lucky and win a gammon and win the match. No, actually 4. Yeah, that would win me the match. So should be a little bit tentative in sending the cube. This is a double. As we can see, it's a double. He's got to be a little bit careful because I powerful redouble. So big part of the reason why, this is a take. I got a 4 prime. If he hits a deuce, that's great for him, but I've got a shot back most likely. So
take a look at it at an even score.
Okay, so I actually have a couple of corollary scores. I'll do that. Let me just see. Let's just do it like first game or money. Let's just be quick here. Yeah, so this is a much stronger. So I guess the main point is that I didn't properly adjust for the score based on the fact that I can kill his gammons, I can redouble and win a redoubled gammon for the match. But at an even score, it's a pretty strong double, and I might even roll out to a pass. So I made a couple of corollary scores here, 9A and 9B. Let's find them. Where's 9? 9A and 9B. So one of the main reasons why this is a take, we'll take a look at it at, it's a little bit stronger at 7-4. I got to be very concerned about this one. I did roll out. I got to be very concerned about him doubling me at 4 away when he's got gammon opportunities. It turns out it was not a drop, so I actually gave him an extra point and it made it a stronger double because it came 4 away. So that's one of the big reasons why my pass was so bad, because he's at an even score. I want to keep him at an even score. So let him double me. He doesn't gammon me, he goes to 8. He's still 3 away. But I just don't want to get him to the launching pad of, where he's 4 away and all of a sudden now double gammon, wins him the match. So that's, I actually have more incentive to take even, trailing in the match as opposed to, you would think he should be more careful, but he's leading more in the match, but he's not. This is a very common situation: 4 away, 4 away, 4 away, 5 away, 4 away, 6 away. You double, and if you can double and win a gammon, you can win the whole match. So that's the biggest probably reason why passing when he had 6 lets him gets to 7, lets him get to the launching pad. Okay, so let's look at the other corollary position here. So 9B. Okay, now we're going to put it to a position, and obviously there's many different adjustments that you can make to see, but now it's a huge pass here. So now when I'm still 6 away. I'm 6 away now. He's 4 away. But you might think like, oh, but he's got a lead in the match. He's got to be careful. But no, this overrides the fact that he's got a gammonish position and 4 away. Overrides the fact that how concerned he should be, to double me. This is actually a drop, huge drop, and I'm pretty sure I would have dropped it. I dropped the original one. It was like 0.8 something. But yeah, so when he's 4 away, 4 away, and 4 away, 4 away. So he's 4 away and I'm 6 away. But if he was 4 away and I was 5 away, like 7-6, or even 4 away, 4 away, 4 away, 4 away is a huge drop. It's like 1.3 something. Okay, we've got about 10 minutes left. We're going to finish our last position. It is, let's see, open it up here. 10, 10A, and 10B. Oh, we've got like 4 different positions to look at, but all stemming from the original one. This is the problem here. Oh, this is a good one here. Got a check and play decision here. Okay, so yeah, I dropped to let. Oh no, that's right. I dropped to let him get to. Oh no, it was a couple of games later. Okay, so he's ahead 8-6, and so he's 3 away. I'm 5 away. I got a double threes to play. Anybody have like a strong opinion on? So who have I not heard from yet? Okay. Raymond. Oh, Raymond's on the phone. Let's Larry Schiller, voice of backgammon, who's been silent this afternoon. You there?
Hi, Steve. Great.
Hey, Larry,
Really enjoying your commentary and comments from
well,
Kit.
it's my pleasure. I love showing everybody how many mistakes I make.
Yeah,
and maybe
I'm absolutely clueless on this position. Obviously, you want to make your 5 point.
Yes, I
you
agree.
can make the bar and make 4 point prime, or you can bring 2 men up and make the 10 point. Those seem like the choices.
Those are the 2 choices. Which is the right one under this in this match score, and for what reason?
Great. Well, so you're behind. So having the extra point in your home board, making the 3 point, having a 3 point board seems pretty solid. So you can have greater gammon chances. So I would say I'd go for that.
Okay, so you're saying 8-5, 6-3 twice, and 13-10.
Yes.
Okay, so let's take a look at the answer here.
I could consider 24-21 instead of 13-10, by the way.
Yeah, well, I think not only did I consider that, I think that's what I did. Anyway, so yeah, so it actually is right to make the prime here. Probably in a big part because you're down in the match. You're down in the match. You want to create primes. You want to create blitzes. And there isn't that much pressure as far as you making a forward anchor on the next roll. He's got very few attacking numbers that he can use to, like, yeah, obviously double threes, 5-3, double 5, but even a lot like 3-1 or 4-2, he can make a new point, but he's got to leave a blot. So you're pretty safe from being attacked on this point here, and you'd like to make a strong position so you can set yourself for possible double here. So if you double and you want and you got a good position, you got to gammon him going up 10-8 Crawford. That's a long shot, but it's possible, and then you'd be in really, really good shape. So because we're down in the match score, we want to play for a more aggressive, attacking, and priming position. Let's take a look at a different score here. Okay, so 10. We looked at 10. Now 10A. That's so it's a corollary position here. So now we change the score here. Let's take a look here. Okay, so now I had us ahead 3 away, 5 away, instead of down 5 away, 3 away. So let's see. How would that impact our decision? So anybody want to offer opinion here? Marianne, how about you? You've been silent.
Yes, I think there's Meet who wants to say something, but
Who wants to say something?
He's sending it in the chat box. So if he would go ahead and just say something.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just not observing the chat.
Hello?
Hello? Okay. All right, so we're running pretty short on time, so let me just get to the answer here. And the answer is, survey says, Richard Dawson would say, now it's pretty close. Now, either making the prime is fine, but also making the advanced anchor. I think this is a play that I actually did. But, so my thinking was not quite correct because I was 5-away, my opponent's 3-away. I need to go for attacking position as opposed to like a holding position, which could develop into attacking position. But, I negated to do the bar point, which is very difficult to do. If I want to make the bar point now, I always say, it's one another lesson that I give people. Do the harder thing first. So making the advanced anchor is not going to be that difficult from the starting position here because they're stripped in the 7 and the 8. You can split, you can step up and all that. You make an advanced anchor later. But to make the bar point, very, very difficult thing to do. Let's just say you do this play. How are you going to make the bar point? It's like there are very few numbers. Like you get lucky and roll double 3, double 6 and all that. Or you can roll 3-1, but that has its own liabilities. 6-1 you can't really use. So do the harder thing first. That's a good adage to go by. So now it's like, and this gets to what I call is the crossover point, where it's neither right nor wrong to do either play. So there's a lot of different variables that you need to consider when making a decision. But if you in further study after the match is over, if you can determine what that crossover point is, then you have a good idea going forward by changing any one of the variables based on score, active builder here or there, which way you could play, whether it be more aggressive or more conservative. And the final position we'll look at is, which actually makes the defensive play. I think I made it 4-way, 2-way, or 2-way, 4-way. Let's take a look here. Open, this is the last position here. Okay, 10B, the very last position. We did really well as far as timing the lecture. Okay, so now I set it up for 2-way, 4-way. So so black being 2-way, white being 4-way. Now you're going to make the advanced anchor, and it's not even like by a huge amount, but it's by enough that it seems reasonable. So now, you don't want your opponent to get too many opportunities from 4-way. This is really nice position to have. You got your own 5-point made. You got the 21-point anchor. You're gonna be able to take forever. Even if you roll 6-4 and escapes, and you're just hanging in there. It doesn't even matter the race. You're not going to get gammon. So it's a really good play to make from 4-way. As far as the other play, it isn't terrible, but you're 2-away, your opponent's 4-away. You got to be a little bit on the conservative side. We didn't quite cover as much as we possibly could have in this session, but I think we had a lot of positions to take a look at. Pretty interesting and great feedback from the audience. Appreciate that. So I want to thank Marianne for inviting me to have this session with everybody today. Hope you learned something from it. Just one request. The next time you play me, don't use this against me, whatever you learned. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Marianne.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. It was particularly interesting to see this last analysis on how the match score so strongly affects the right play. So thank you for all of that.
My pleasure, Karen.
And I want to thank Karen as well for also organizing this meet. And I hope to see you everyone next month on our Backgammon Sunday again. Thank you, Steve.
All right, everybody. Thank you.
Recording stopped.